So let's jump into the draft here and get the answer to some of those questions, because I think it'll be very interesting to see what is going to change up with this draft, if anything, because both teams would have felt like they were able to play the game that they wanted to play. So it's almost as if you don't need to change too much. You just need to execute on it a little bit better. If you're Team Chinese Taipei, you just don't have that one bad fight, and you might have found a win in the first game. So we'll see if they change anything up. I think actually what might happen is Team China could potentially be the ones to change things up, and that will then force a reaction from Team Chinese Taipei. But if I'm Team Chinese Taipei, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you know what, that was a pretty solid game. Like, we could pretty much just run it back.
It felt like, let's talk about mid laners for a second, because Shanks was there. He was present. He was always on the flank and threatening. And that threat was enough to stop Team Chinese Taipei from doing a whole lot at certain points. They weren't committing to fights. They were disengaging where they could because they just didn't want that Akali jumping straight on them. So I feel like maybe they'll change up the game plan in terms of that. We are going to see a shift in the bans though. Zeri going to be taken out of there after the damage that we saw come through from Hope in that game. So that is going to be that first shift from this draft so far.
Yeah, they certainly had a bit of difficulty dealing with the Zeri. I think it was a pain point and worth getting rid of. I've got no qualms against that one. But, again, that sort of opens the door up for Team China to look towards something like the Jinx. We know Hope likes to play that. They played a little bit more of an aggressive bot lane as well at this event with the Lucian once or twice as well. So, yeah, keep an eye out on it. I don't think it's necessarily going to make too much of a difference. I feel as though Hope's going to be comfortable regardless of what you put him on, and he'll be able to find his advantages. Another anti-ban comes through. Again, don't really want to deal with that one. Team Chinese Taipei. So very similar bans.
I'm not going to be surprised if we see them once again run it back on the Aphelios. He has been really strong with that Wacko down towards the bot lane. And if things go better in the early game, we spoke about it before the break after game 1, then maybe there's a world where that game goes in the bag in favor of Team Chinese Taipei. Now, 5 seconds remain. What is going to be the first pick here? It is going to be that Aphelios. So, running it back again. I guess that was expected from Team China as well. Let's see what they answer with. Are they going to go for an ADC pick early, or are they just going to flex that one around? Maybe save that for a rainy day. Maybe for that third pick instead.
What's the option here? Lots of thinking to be done for Team China. They're really leaving this to the last minute, but it is going to be the Milio to be taken away from Woody. Okay. So we don't get the repeat of the Aphelios Milio lane. We do get Wukong once again coming through for Hong. Not a bad choice. Get it early on in the draft. This really doesn't tell you a whole lot yet for Team Chinese Taipei. Yumi's an option, okay? So they did play Aphelios Yumi yesterday. Had a lot of success with that. Do they want to go for Yumi again? You can definitely pick it into the Milio.
Yeah.
And there it is. So
maybe a little safer as well. Woody pretty good on the Yumi as well. You said he was playing it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of it just come down to Wacko, to be honest here. You're going to put a lot of resources into Wacko once again.
That was that game where they managed to finish in 18 minutes and Wacko was going out of control. So we'll see if he can try his best to put that performance on again. Of course, Team China is a whole different ball game, and we are going to see the Cassante slide in. So a pretty good blind for the top lane. We are going to see Acid just probably having a bit more impact than what he did in the last. Now, back over to Team China to select for the final pick in phase 1 here.
Yeah, I feel like Jinx could be an option. Just play a like for like.
Yeah.
Try to get into the late game, and there you go. I mean, again, the thing about this matchup is that both teams, they like to play so standard. They don't really like to do anything too crazy, that it's really quite straightforward to kind of predict the way that this draft is going to go once we've watched, a few of their games, kind of felt them out and figured out what kind of compositions, or champions rather specifically, that they do want to play toward. And again, it's always going to be towards that bot lane with these two teams. And so you put your ADCs on their comfort champs, you put your supports on their comfort champs, you play the junglers towards the bot lane, and well, hopefully win from there. But so far, again, we're kind of leaving the rest of the team comp up for grabs, whether it's going to be, again, a kind of a dive heavy composition coming through from Team China, or if it's just going to be a little bit more front to back. I think based on what they've drafted so far, you can still kind of go in either direction, but probably leaning toward the front to back a little bit more just because you've got the Jinx in there rather than the Zeri this time.
Looks like they're heavily respecting Junja's picks and taking out that Poppy again. They certainly seem to be scared of that one. And over on the other side, Ari getting removed. You can see that Team China probably looking for a decent source of AP damage. And Shanks, of course, we are going to see him open to thinking about going for the Akali again. I'm not sure if it'll work super well in the lineup, but if he just plays it like they did before, as you just mentioned, look, I dare say it's going to go well for them. Now, back to the picks. Nah going to be banned. So there goes a potential top lane matchup for him and Cassante.
Yeah, just trying to keep life a little bit easier there for Archie. Obviously, the Nah does reasonably well into the Cassante, so it'll have to go somewhere else. Ends up being the Gragas selected. Could be flex. You'd be leaning towards it being in the top lane, and we're using this as a counter pick for mid.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. Shanks did play pretty slow as well, so we'll see what's selected here. They are going to run it back on the volley. And what are we going to see coming out as the final pick for Team Chinese Taipei to round this one out? What's going down the mid lane?
Yeah, I mean, again, the Azir actually would have been perfect here just to continue to bring that front to back to bear on Team China.
When? Cassante going mid?
Yeah, okay.
Maybe.
So we got the Gwen and the Cassante. That'll be a little bit flexible. We'll see where both of them do end up. It's going to be Jax the choice for Cube up in top for Team China. We don't have quite as heavy of a flanking composition from Team China. A little bit more front to back with the Gragas, but he can kind of fill both roles. He can play from the sides. He can play from the flanks. If he can find himself an angle, he can certainly get some good engages.
Yeah.
But he's also got a lot of just natural crowd control that you can use. So if your Jinx is ahead, you don't need to necessarily be looking for those flanking engages. You can just play as, you know, another kind of peel, another kind of front line, and keep your Jinx safe. So it really, I guess, depends on how this game is going to be going for Team China. They've got options regardless of whether they're ahead by a long way or sort of even, or if they're behind. Whereas, again, we kind of take the look towards Team Chinese Taipei, and it is very much just front to back as usual. The only thing I'll say is there's a bit more of a secondary carry in the Gwen coming through now as well. It didn't really feel like the Azir kind of popped off too much in the last game.
So it missed the mark. There was moments where there was a lot of damage dished out, but as we were talking about before, Emperor's Divides were missed. We don't have to worry about that now, of course. Maple going to be real tanky, going to be able to get right up in the grills there. And what I really want to focus on in the early game, again, is this jungle pathing, because Volibear in the previous game managed to go for the full clear by, I think it was 10, like 3:10 on the clock, and he was a whole camp ahead at that point on Hong. So, look, was able to get towards that bottom lane. Unfortunately, walked over Vision. He was spotted, so wasn't able to make an early gank happen. Went for that invade and was able just to have that extra 10 or 15 seconds or so to try to make something happen. So, we see that happen again, maybe with the Yuumi, maybe Wacko can have some kind of buff, or we could also see some earlier gank attempted somewhere else. Maybe they can try to play more towards the top lane now.
Yeah, definitely. Interested to see which way this is going to pan out in Chinese Taipei. You know, they'd be feeling really disappointed that they couldn't get the win in game one because that was so close. And this could ultimately end up being a 2-0, which doesn't feel representative of how close that matchup has been so far. But let's see how we go as we jump back onto Summoner's Rift, and we'll see whether or not tonight is going to end a little earlier, or if we're going to go the distance once again, and if we're going to find another third game. Can Team Chinese Taipei find a way to make the reverse sweep happen? Aja spots out Cube early on in the piece, doesn't want a bar of it early on.
Again, the crowd popping off, having a lot of fun there. But nothing too crazy happening early on here at level 1. Maple as well, just going to defend that bot side, make sure no early invade comes through. And you can even see Wacko and Woody just locking down that lane side. Of course, if you remember at the start of the previous game, they're having a lot of fun against the opposing bot lane. But it might be the late invade. They are going to have a attempt at it, but they are going to be spotted out by 1D Scene, Shanks. They seem to think Maple's on his own. We are going to see some damage traded, and in the meanwhile, as that's happened, that ward is going to be placed in the brush. It doesn't seem to have been spotted by Team Chinese Taipei, so that jungle path is going to be seen, and that red buff is going to be gone.
Yeah, you'd very much be expecting that there's going to be wards all over the place, so we might actually end up seeing a vertical jungle here. The only thing that I will say is this is going to give the push to Wacko and Woody down in the bot lane. They are going to be able to get a couple of free autos in onto those creeps and just set themselves up. They are probably a little concerned about the potential of the Wukong coming in behind them, so they don't want to over-push this wave. But they will have the early advantage just in that 2-on-2 and looking to try to hit level 2 first. We do see the vertical jungle from Junjia, not really much of a surprise. What this does, though, is it does kind of keep the focus from Team Chinese Taipei towards the top side of the map, where it was very evident that they wanted to be playing towards the bot side of the map. So I think that is already advantage Team China in a sense.
Yeah, Team Junjia is gone from the Wolves straight to that red buff. Going to try to go for full clear and then make his way back. We'll see if he decides to shift up that jungle path, but for now it is just going to be two big blokes whacking one another in mid over towards the top side. Jax could be met with a little more danger with this Wen here.
Yeah, it certainly is a bit more kill threat when compared to the Scion from Arja. Wen can kind of go toe-to-toe with the Jax in a bit of a skill matchup. So you can get their stuns first. And Junjia, well, he's here. Cube should have been expecting this, but has been caught out by a little bit of that positioning. Does have the leap to get to safety. Doesn't actually end up getting forced to flash. So ineffective initial gank again from Junjia. Doesn't really achieve a whole lot. A bit of his own time. He actually ended up going straight to the enemy red. He didn't actually pick up his own blue. So he's a little bit behind in terms of the CS in the jungle there as well. Hong has just been farming the whole time.
Yeah, Cube going to get a nice advantage. Will he be able to stop the back? He won't, but he's going to... Okay, what's going on at top?
I think he's taking trouble. He's going to try to sacrifice his life.
Oh, I think he will do so effectively. Ninja not going to be able to get any connection there. So the execution comes through. No free gold for Team Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, Woody and Wacko stuck under their tower at the moment. That's not a great place to be when the enemy jungler is down on your side of the map, but they are fairly healthy, and Hope and Iwandi were not super healthy, so no real dive angle there available for them, particularly when you got heal and exhaust still up for Woody. Just down a bit on the CS there in the bot lane too, but not by a super significant margin. That's sometimes some of the things that you do struggle with when you're playing the Yuumi lane. Is it is quite easy to shove the Yuumi under tower and make it a bit more difficult for the carry to farm. So that's definitely one way of dealing with the Yuumi.
Hong's looking for the angle, but they are fully aware that he's here. He's standing on vision. He's waiting for that Raptor camp to respawn. Junjia now might be able to turn this into a gank.
Woody.
Woody's on the way as well, but is he going to be able to help out in time? Maple is so low, but still so tanky at this level. And it's going to be the troops helping him out. Shanks doesn't have a lot of mana to play with, so he's still going to hang around. He does have Iwandi rotating in here to try to help out the mid lane for the moment.
Does force the heal out of Woody.
One sum going down. Exhaust is there to play with. Shanks playing a dangerous game. Just trying to even up minion wave for now. Maple chunked away at.
It's a bit strange to see roams from Ayumi and Emilio this early on.
Yeah, Yuumi especially.
But such is the nature of the beast. This game, you're required to match those roams. Lest you give up an advantage. Speaking of, 500 gold advantage already for Team China, so they are finding the lead in terms of the farm across the board by some small margins, but those margins do exist.
Hope's going to hit level 5 here, I think, a little bit earlier. Wacko is going to be... going to have his attention drawn away, but Intro going straight over the top of the ward hasn't been seen because the pink one's there, and now he's going to be able to try and get the Thundering Smash over the top, but the spacing from Wacko ain't quite there. It is the Sky Splitter. Hope now looking to try and find anything off the back of that, and this is a much better beginning for Wacko.
I was really waiting to see who was going to get that kill. There was no question that was a very dead Jinx. But the question was who was going to get given the kill, and they really made sure that they gave that to Wacko, which is very good signs. I mean, that's what they were unable to do in the early game last game. Take a look at this replay. Just, you know, not even so much the vision control being poor here for Team China, just a little bit too far pushed up, and, you know, Flash was available for Jinx, but the Flash is not going to get you out of there, and so Iwandi just has to walk away and allow Hope to go down.
Yeah. Team Chinese Taipei now with a decent gold lead for how early we are in the game. And with Hope not there for too long, that is going to allow Wacko to potentially ping that level 6 first. And that could be a factor. Maple happy to trade blows there at mid. And then back towards the top side. It's like Ashley's just going to sit back, allow Cube to keep on farming up here. You can see there is starting to be a CS gap. Slowly but surely. And Ocean Drake going to be attempted by Hong, so he's pulling this one out now. And it looks like we are going to see the bot lane get this bot lane prio and help him out as well. So it should be a faster Drake taken.
Yeah. Wacko and Woody have already based and they're on their way back, so there's not really much of a world where you can get the contest. Junjia hanging around waiting for that Scuttle Crab. It has been watered. Cube's going to make it difficult for him to grab that. I don't know that Junjia is here, so Archer's going to come across as well, but rotation coming across as well from Hong. Cube might have some help in just a second.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get that Thundering Smash on. The stun is good for the moment. Cube getting real low. Will be able to flash, but does he have a ward to jump to? He will have a teammate. Hong going to come across and maybe save the day, but now he will fall down. Stormbringer to be used to jump across the wall now, and Cube will get knocked back. It's a great play from Team Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, once again, Team Chinese Taipei, they just have this macro game on lock early. There's no doubt that they're getting the better of Team China in a lot of these early game skirmishes, and that's putting the pressure back onto Team China. I think a lot of this does come down to the individual ability of the Team China members. Maple getting aggressive in mid. Flashed out there by Shanks, so all good. But man, I mean, again, Team Chinese Taipei, they put themselves in a position where they have the advantage.
Ooh, Maple. Loves going for those ones, of course. Invested that ult just to hang around for a little bit longer. Thought there might have been some kind of kill threat, but looks like he's looking for the reset off the back of it. Well, watch this one again. It is going to be the great chase. Nice teamwork from Hong just to come across the wall here, allow Cube to jump to him, but things go wrong after this. Keep an eye on Maple. Look what he does. Jumps across, flashes in, and we'll be able to get this knock back perfectly to enable that one. On to Azzy as well.
Yeah, look, Cube just got himself into all sorts of trouble there. Supermega Death Rocket.
Yeah, just
goes wide.
Having a poke.
Yeah, maybe trying to clear the wave.
Yeah.
The AoE.
Or battle at the Herald. Who's going to get that smite there? One's used real damn early, tried to flip it, and it looks like it is going to be taken by Team China, but they aren't going to be able to get their mitts on the Herald itself. Of course, that's just going to be floating at the side of the pit. Hope, in the meanwhile, he's going to take this 1v2, and he's going to lose it. Wacko! That's another nice advantage early on in the game.
Yeah, Emilio just back in the base, and Hope not respecting the ability of Wacko and Woody to execute that tower dive in the 2v1 is punished for it.
Team
Advantage.
Taipei over towards that Herald.
They're going to get another one.
It's fully denied. Oh, one surely he doesn't.
Or they're going to try to get another one at least.
He's going to give it a crack. Play some silly games there. Wacko feeling it, but decides against it. Could have been a bad decision, of course. Jinx is alive, and he didn't know how far away he was walking back to lane. But watch this one again. Hope not going to be able to dodge enough. And that Yuumi ult just too strong. The last right click attempted there. But as I was saying, yeah, Herald going to be denied. You know, Team Chinese Taipei able to fight for the control, even though they didn't get it themselves.
Well, I like this setup so far for Team Chinese Taipei. Team China have a lot to think about. They have deficits in every lane, particularly large one in bot. And they've once again kind of given Team Chinese Taipei the kind of composition that they really do excel at. They've got the Aphelios this time with the Yuumi. Big front line to stand behind with the Volibear and the Cassante. And a secondary carry in the Gwen. Junjia. He's looking.
Certainly is. I don't think he's going to find an explosive cast right back. He is going to use the Stormbringer to jump away to safety. But that tower's still online in the meanwhile. It's gone backwards, not forwards, and now Maple will be falling.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Team China getting on the board.
It's a bit of a mistake from Maple, bit of a miscommunication maybe. Junjia was totally fine there, as you said. He had the Stormbringer to jump back out. Maple thought he was there to help him, but...
What I thought Junjia, when he's pulled that ult, maybe Maple thought it was going in. Maybe he thought he was going to deny that tower any shots, and they were all on the same page. But, you know, we know now they certainly weren't.
Yeah, let's just have a look at the timing. When does Maple decide to go? Goes
in, Junja goes out.
Right about the same time. I don't know. I think it's just one of those instinct things where you see your mate in trouble, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to help you out. But he was totally fine all along.
Great intentions from Maple. Unfortunately, it's allowed Team China to get on the board. However, okay, cancels the back, as you mentioned, and Shanks still will be able to hang around. He's got a good amount of mana to play with in comparison to what we saw earlier. Pong just going to be full clearing himself and making sure he gets some kind of levels on the board. Might be able to find himself a flank angle, but in the meanwhile, he hasn't spotted that nice deep ward.
Yeah, so some items starting to get finished off here. We've got the Ardent sensor for Iwandi. Kraken Slayer out for Wacko. Those are the two big ones so far. Naturally, Iwandi just a little bit further ahead in the build path than Woody right now because he's got that kill in the back pocket.
Shanks just going straight on in. He has managed to build that Everfrost, just as you were talking about those as well. And we'll use them just to try to force Maple away. But it is going to be the Drake started. Junja doing it on some kind of vision, so you can see that now Team China, they are going to try to contest this one, grouping up over towards that choke on the blue bluff. They might be able to make their way in time. Sky Splitter going to be used, and this is going to be blue team securing it, so it's going to be one Drake apiece, but now we've got the 4-on-4. And it's looking like it's going to be a full 5-on-5 full team fight here at the 13-minute mark. Iwandi's just going to be zoned away, but it's all about the health on Maple. Look at him running. Junja as well, not much remaining. Wacko doesn't have any way to get out of the pit here, and he's just hoping that Yuumi can jump to safety.
Yeah, very reminiscent of actually the final fight that we saw between Team China and Team Chinese Taipei in Game 1. Wacko just getting into all sorts of trouble. Pathing in the wrong direction and getting stuck in the Dragon Pit rather than following the rest of the team out and up the river did cause some problems in the end. But see, he got knocked into the pit there by the Gragas barrel, but there was certainly an option. There was an opportunity really where he could have walked up the river with the rest of the team, but in the end decided to path down. I think getting a little bit baited by the Yuumi ulti, trying to get full value out of that, but ultimately walks into his death. So a little bit of a misplay in the positioning there from Wacko, and that's probably the first time we've seen that in this game. Maybe had one little misstep in the last game as well. But
the thing that you can focus on is one of those kills went to Iwandi, and of course one of the kills went to Hong as well.
Iwandi had the kill earlier.
Jinx getting 2 online with that one.
I think it was just the one kill out of that fight for Team China that did go the way of Hong. Iwandi had his kill a little bit earlier on in the piece, but yeah, I mean it's a good it's a good sign, I suppose, that the kills aren't going the way of Jinx, because if this was the Jinx that was two kills up, yeah, then that's also a little bit scarier. I mean, look, Wacko still got quite a gold lead, as you can see there, over Hope right now.
Yeah, going to be able to come catch this wave before it gets dealt with by that turret. Cube goes back to topside. And again, things just slow down for the moment. You can see Iwandi getting a nice deep ward over towards that blue buff. The map, of course, is going to be opened up with the Infernal Soul. So there's a lot of action, faster rotations as well with those walls disappearing. Over towards the mid side, it is just going to be the slow but sure battle for vision.
Yeah, lots of the farm being given over to Wacko. Makes a lot of sense. He's so important in this team composition. Woody's been spending a lot of time on Junjia. Going for a little bit of a tour around the map. It is the Rift Herald that Chinese Taipei have turned their attention toward. They are trying to bait in a fight. Wacko has some favorable weapons to play with for the moment, but China certainly interested in having a look. Super Mega Death Rocket almost stole it. Junjia all over it with that smite. Mid lane tower might be sacrificed in response, but Team Chinese Taipei, they look like they want to fight.
They had the flank angle, but as soon as the tower falls, they decide against it, knowing that maybe it's not the greatest of ideas. They don't have a gold lead at the moment, and we are going to see Junjia get caught out in the jungle, but he's got a lot of health to play with. Shanks now pretty tanky himself, but Maple wants to go for this one. Man's going to be able to use that ult. It's online now, but it looks like he might not be. See you later, Maple, out of the equation, and the rest of Team Chinese Taipei are just going to start to walk away.
Yeah, not a great game so far from Maple. Struggling a little bit on that. Kasante does get caught off in a really awkward spot twice in a row now. And this is actually going to compound the issues for Team Chinese Taipei. Team China, they gain the mid tower, they gain the first tower, and the second tower. And it's all just off the back of one kill.
Yeah, great value. Able to play around the wave so swimmingly. And you look at Maple here, you're thinking, okay, this doesn't look too terrible. He ults up, he looks good, but then he just gets completely belted and melted. And the rest of Team Chinese Taipei are just going to be forced over towards that top lane to try to stem the bleeding.
Bit of a faster rotate in there as well from Cube. Aja doesn't quite get to the fight at the same time, and I think that's why Team Chinese Taipei wasn't so committed to trying to follow up on the engage that Maple made. It's just that he didn't quite read that situation the same way as the rest of his teammates, and unfortunately has to kick the bucket. So Team China, they are starting to build that lead back up again. And even though this game started well for Team Chinese Taipei, they have let slip a couple of kills that they don't really afford.
Shank's going to be jumping across the wall. Maple not quite caught out of position. Of course, he does want to be at the front of this fight if it is going to be a fight. Battlefield Vision again towards the bush here at the Raptor camp. And they're going to try to go forward. Maple wants this, but Wacko too interested in farming, making sure that that mid wave is going to be pushed out with the prio. If there is a fight, if Team China turns it around, you know that they're just going to be taking the base. Got to play the long game. Infernal Drake up now. Anyone's second if they want to fight for it, but now it's just going to be the mid pressure they're trying to find, looking to mop down this this mid T1.
Well, the question I would ask you there, Mac, is the Rift Herald worth the 2 towers? Because basically Team China got 2 towers off that Rift Herald that Team Chinese Taipei picked up.
Great question, but now we've got a team fight happening, and at the same time, Wacko, he's not going to be able to get any value out of that one. Moonlight Vigil barely has any effect. Shanks living, but not too much longer. Junjia now running for his life. Actually coming in. The AP damage looks good, but you can see that they are just trying to run away and survive. They don't want to lose the game here and now, because that'll be the series in the back for Team China.
But Mac, they are slowly but surely losing this game. I'll tell you that for free. They just don't get the value out of that Rift Herald, right? We talked about it. It cost them 2 towers to get the Rift Herald. Then they use their Rift Herald. It gets 1 charge, half an HP of the tower, and then the ensuing fight results in a 2-for-1 favoring Team China.
Having a look back at it, Wacko just gets caught out of position.
Shanks.
Yeah. Great slam, great flash. The belly too strong.
Yeah,
he's
the
just unable to do anything.
Flash E is just impossible to dodge, and followed up with the great explosive cask. And there's nowhere for Wacko to go. Woody's attached, and so goes down pretty quick smart afterwards. And Team China. You know, we talked about them having options, right? They can play the front to back. They can play the flanking game and look for engages out of the likes of Hong or Shanks or Cube. And so far, they're being able to do both. They're really being able to find those consistent flanking engages very nicely.
Yeah. And that was off the back of, look, Team China. They invaded the jungle. They were just setting up the vision, and they knew what was clear, what wasn't clear. Shanks was able just to sit there and find the angle on the Wacko. Now, things are progressing happily for Team China. You can see it's gone from that 1k gold lead to a 3 and a bit K gold lead. Yep. Team Chinese Taipei are not super aware of what's going on. We are going to see the red trinket invested, but actually just to try and find Shanks there. But he's got a couple of friends not too far away.
Well, Baron has just spawned. Team China are certainly hanging around. Hong got the smite in there. Yeah, did.
Got that. Bit of vision in the river. Making sure that's going to be cleared for the next minute or so. Junja is running for his life. A little worried, and rightfully so. In China, mid-prios here. Should be able to play for those objectives off the back of it. You can see all this vision has been set up by Awandi in the meanwhile, and Hong as well. Going to keep on fighting here. Shanks is there. We're going to see a flank angle. Team Chinese Taipei looking to go all in. Maple, he is hungry for a fight. Hope is here though, hiding in the bush and looking for a fight of his own. And it is going to be a great cyclone in the backline from Hong. Big damage coming through. Wacko too with the Yumi ult. Will get those roots, but he's just not doing the damage that he needs to.
Yeah, something's gone wrong in the Team Chinese camp. Team Chinese Taipei camp, I should say. They are really struggling with these engages. It seems like they're at panic stations, Mac. You know, the TP comes through there from Maple, trying to force it a little bit alongside Aja and Junjia, but Wacko and Woody were nowhere to be seen, and now it's going to be a free Baron for Team China. There is nothing that Chinese Taipei can do about that, and I am starting to see the cracks showing for Team Chinese Taipei. They were so much better in Game 1, but this gameplay that we've been talking about, this style that we've been talking about, where they try to minimize their mistakes, is really not in effect right now. They are making a lot of mistakes, and they are leaving the door open in a quite a dramatic fashion for Team China to take advantage of them.
Yeah, it certainly feels like Maple feels like he's extremely tanky. You see him run it in, happy to go in first, but then there's just not enough damage being done off the back of it. Even though we were theorizing with Wacko with a better start in this game, might have been able to build better, it just hasn't gone his way. Yes, he gets a chunk of damage out, but it's not under any single individual here. You can see it's just going to be shared between all of Team China, so it doesn't end up working out.
Wacko and Woody don't even get to that fight before one member is dead for Team Chinese Taipei, and that's just not how you can be affording to fight against a team of the caliber of Team China. They're going to catch Woody. There's nowhere to go. He's a Yumi.
Oh, he's a Yumi. He has no movement. He has no chance. See you later. That is a flat cat.
No
Maple
flash.
now. Let's see if they're going to be able to deal with this push towards the bot lane. They are a support down, a 3v4 down here, a 4v4 rather. And Maple's looking for the angle, is going to try to go all in, and it might be their last attempt. Hope, he's gone. So maybe there's an opportunity. You can see Team China now going on the back foot, looking to reroute back towards the red buff instead.
Yeah, it's just going from bad to worse for Team Chinese Taipei, right? They can't seem to stop the flow. And Team China continuing to find advantage after advantage. This is a far more one-sided game than we saw in game one.
They're going for it again. Even with the man disadvantage, they are happy to take it. Hong too strong with that Cyclone. And we're going to see Wacko give it a crack, but he is just melting. We'll have a front line to play around, but the damage is too big, too good from Team China. And that might just be the game unless Maple can try and stop it. He's level 12, he's a couple of levels down on a few of these individuals, and he just melts. That is the tank. If he dies that quick, you better believe there is absolutely no shot of Team Chinese Taipei getting back into this game.
100%. This is a game that is well and truly over. Death time is still 12 seconds. And the Nexus Tower is already being hit. It is pretty much done. It is over. There is no way Team Chinese Taipei, they won't even get to defend the Nexus. It is Team China today that will top the group and find the 2-0.
And that